Everyone, welcome to Facts Pro, where it's all about facts, financial, accounting, and tax strategies. Welcome to the first Facebook Live of the year. Happy New Year to everyone. And we are already mid-January. Can you imagine? All right, so today I want to touch base on a topic that's related to compliance, related to what do we need to do first thing in January. That's the deadline end of this month. And as a business owner, do I need to send out any 1099s to anyone that I made any payments to? Who would that be? What is the deadline? And do I need to send one anyway or not? So let's dive in, and I'm gonna share my screen with you. And I usually like to start with a joke, and the joke today is a pickup line from a self-employed individual. I seem to have misplaced my 1099. Can I get your information instead? All right, so do you need to send out 1099s? First of all, who needs to send one? It's all kind of businesses, including a Schedule C as a sole prop and a Schedule E as a rental property. So you may think that, no, I don't need to send one. I don't have an official business. But guess what? If you are a sole prop and you receive a 1099 yourself, you may be also required to send a 1099 to somebody else. If you're renting out a property and you had to make some repairs and you paid a handyman to do something, you may be required to send out a 1099. So it's all kind of businesses, whether it's a partnership, corporation, single members, or even a rental property. Okay, so as you see and we're going through this is a corporation. They ask you on the tax return, did the corporation make any payments that would require you to send out a 1099? And if yes, did the corporation file the required 1099 form? So definitely when you say, yes, I am required to make payments, or I made payments that required me to file 1099s, you should say, yes, I filed the forms. But if you say, yes, I am required, but no, I haven't filed them, then you're in trouble. You're telling them that you're not in compliance. So those definitely, if it's a yes, then this question is yes. If it's a no, then this one wouldn't be applicable. So for a corporation, you see it on a Schedule K right there. For an S corporation, you see it on a Schedule B, same question. And for a partnership, Schedule B, same question. They ask you the same question on all kind of business tax returns. On Schedule C, on your Form 1040, on your individual tax return. If you're having a Schedule C, they ask you the same question. If you're having a rental property on your individual tax return, they ask you the same question. Why? Because it's important. And if you're missing it, then you're probably not in compliance and you may be subject to penalties. What are the type of 1099s we're talking about? There is a 1099 miscellaneous for, and we're gonna tell you what for in the next slide, the NEC, which they used to have to be one, but a couple of years back they separated it to be two forms. Then you have the 1099 interest that you receive from or you send out to if you have anybody that you're paying interest to on any loan or anything, and you also receive it from banks or anything that you earn interest on. 1099 dividends, 1099 retirement distribution, 1099K that comes from receiving credit card payments. If you are a business that receive credit card payments, the payment card processor, they send you a 1099K with how much you processed with them. So 1099K is not something that you usually would send to people, but it's something that you would receive from the payment card processors. 1099S related, if you sold a property or a real estate, you usually see that with the sale proceeds. 1099B related to your stock market trading, if you sold or bought, whether short-term or long-term, any stocks or things that you have earned some capital gain on. 1099-A related to acquisition or abandonment of property. 1099-C related to cancellation of debt. And those are the ones that have been there for a while, but there is one that's new this year, which is the 1099-D for those who do trading related to crypto currency. So now you would receive a 1099-D with how much you have traded using digital currencies. That's why it's a D, digital currency. All right, so what are the ones that we are going to focus on today? The 1099 miscellaneous, where you report rent. So if you're paying rent to anyone, you need to record this here. Royalties, other income, fishing boat proceeds, medical and healthcare payments. So that's why my medical practice owners, you usually get a lot of those from your insurance company, from the hospital that you worked in, any clinic, anything that you have been working for as a 1099 independent contractor. You usually receive this form with the payments that you received recorded here in this box. All right. What else I want to mention here? So here, of course, if there is any federal tax withheld, it will be recorded here. If any state tax withheld will be recorded here, but most of the time those are empty unless you're subject to backup withholding, like you haven't submitted the right W-9 form, you didn't give the payer the right tax ID, so they had to backup withhold taxes from you. Another one, I think the gross proceeds paid to an attorney. So this is related not to the attorney fees, but related to like any settlement payment or something that would also be recorded here, especially insurance companies when they pay lawyers for any settlement amounts, they usually have to send them one and they report the amount here. So here, you're not including any payments you paid to independent contractors. Why? Because there is a separate form called 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation form, and this is where you record how much you paid that independent contractor that is not your employee. Because if they are your employee, then you would send them a W-2. But if they're not and they're a 1099, then you send them 1099 NEC with the amount paid included in this box. Okay, so who do I need to send the 1099 NEC to? Let's see what the IRS said about that. If the following 4 conditions are met, you must generally report a payment as non-employee compensation. So you made a payment to someone who's not your employee. Makes sense, right? Because it's a non-employee compensation. So it's somebody that's not your employee. You made the payment for services in the course of your trade or business. So if you don't have a trade or business, if you're an individual, you don't have to worry about that. But if you made this payment in the course of your trade or business, even if it's the government agency or non-for-profit, and you made this payment for the services you receive from them, then you are required to send one. It's usually not for products. It's not for something that you bought as a product or inventory. It's for services. Also, you made the payment to an individual, partnership, state, or in some cases a corporation, and we'll tell you what cases are they. And you made the payment to the PE of at least $600 during the year. And $600, this is the threshold for the past years. And for 2025, this number is going up in 2026 under the One Big Beautiful Bill. This number increased to $2,000 in 2026 and forward. But now we're doing the 1099s for the prior year, for 2025. So the $600 still stands. All right. So you are not required to file the information return, and the 1099 is called information return. Information like you're informing the recipient and the IRS that you made such a payment. So you're not required to file information return if any of the following situation apply. First, you're not engaged in trade or business. As we said, you're just individual. You paid an attorney to pay something. You don't need to send an attorney a 1099. You paid your doctor something. You don't need to send them a 1099. You're individual. You're not engaged in trade or business. You don't worry about it. Or you're engaged in a trade or business and the payment was made to another business that's incorporated. So if you're sending a payment to another corporation, then you don't need to send them a 1099 unless it was for medical or legal services. So if it's for medical, then you need to send them a 1099. If it's for a legal service, then you need to send them a 1099, regardless of whether the legal or the medical was a corporation or was an LLC, a partnership. It doesn't matter. You send them a 1099 regardless. And the sum of all payments made to the person or the unincorporated business is less than $600 in one tax year, then you don't have to worry about it. So even if you're engaged in a trade or business, you made a payment to another business that's an LLC or to an individual, and it was for less than $600, then you don't really have to worry about it. Okay, how would I know if they're incorporated or if not? You usually have to ask, or always have to ask, for a W-9 form. And you should ask for it before you start making any payments, because once you made a payment, you may find them reluctant to send you their tax information because they don't want it reported to the IRS. But you are required to do so. So you need to always ask for a W-9 form. So now we're starting a new year, do that. If you haven't done this in the past, if you haven't done this in 2025, this is the time. If you're hiring anybody as a 1099, ask them first for a W-9 form. And this is how it looks like, the W-9 form, and it was, the current version is still last year or 2 years ago version, March 2024. So you really need to put the name of the individual or the entity that you're making payments to. If a person and it's part of the business, you put the business name here, and here they check what kind of business they are. So if they're a corporation, they would mark it as a corporation. Then you would know that you don't have to send them a 1099 unless they're medical or legal service. As corporation, same thing. But if they mark the individual, LLC, partnership, trust, or estate, then you know that you are required to send them one. And here they put their social security or tax ID, they sign it, they give it to you. Sometimes you're the one who's being asked to send this one. Now you know why. All right. Okay, very easy to fill out, and it's very straightforward to have it in your records. The filing deadline this year, so usually 1099 NAC are due end of the month, so January 31st, but since January 31st this year is falling on a weekend, then it's February 2nd, and it goes for both, whether the recipient and the IRS, same deadline. 1099 miscellaneous, it's February 2nd for the recipient, March 2nd if you're filing paper to the IRS, because it's also February 28 and February 28 falls on a weekend, or March 31st if you're filing to the IRS electronically. But just put it in mind that if you want to send it to the recipient, you have to send it by February 1st. That's the deadline of this year. Okay. Is there a penalty for not filing? What if I don't have to worry about it? Why am I making a presentation? Why we care? Because there is a lot of penalties, and it can start from 60 to 660 or even more. $60 up to 30 days late, from $130 if 31 days late through August 1st. After August 1st, or if you haven't filed it at all, it could be $330 per form, and we're talking per form. So if you haven't filed 3 forms, you multiply this number by 3, and so on. If you intentionally disregard sending one, you can pay $660 or 10% of the income reported on the form with no maximum. There is no cap on even how much the penalty could be. So this can add up to a lot of penalty and a lot of dollars for no reason. So you need to just make sure that you are in compliance. Okay, all right. So, what if I paid by a credit card? So, if I paid a vendor or somebody using a credit card, here there is a little exception because payments made with a credit card or through any payment card or certain other type of payments like PayPal or Venmo or any of those, including third-party network transaction, they must be reported on Form 1099-K by the payment settlement entity under Section 650W and are not subject to reporting on Form 1099 NEC or 1099 miscellaneous. So in this case, you don't really have to send them anything because they will receive a form from the payment processor that they're using for receiving credit card payments. All right. Okay, what if I'm the recipient of an incorrect form? So if you are a recipient or a PE of an incorrect Form 1099 miscellaneous and you will start receiving those now through the end of the month, as we said, you have to contact the payer. You got a form, you have no idea what this for, and it happens all the time. They have numbers from prior years, they mess up things, they include a number that you didn't really receive. So you have to confirm that what you received is correct. Just double check it with your records. And if it's incorrect, you have to contact the payer. And if you can't get this form corrected, then you attach an explanation to your tax return and report your income correctly. Because why there is a problem here? Because once you receive a 1099 form, another copy goes to the IRS. So the IRS having a form of a 1099 NEC or 1099 miscellaneous or any of those 1099s saying that you have to report an income of X amount, but you haven't reported this income because you didn't actually get it or because you think the form is incorrect. So it doesn't make any sense. It will definitely be a flag because the records are not matching. They know, they have a record, they have information telling them that you received X amount of money, but on your tax return, you're telling them, no, I haven't, without sitting an explanation. Then that would be straightforward notice of adjustment. So you need to get ahead of the game, and if it was incorrect, you need to either correct it or attach an explanation saying, like, backing up your story why it was incorrect. Okay. So here that includes everything about the 1099s that's due end of this month. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about whether you need to send the 1099 to anybody in your list of vendors, please reach out and let me know and I'll be happy to help. All right, thank you and see you next week.